tutorial today is going to be all about StazOn ink. What you can, how you can use the traditional StazOn ink blend with the new StazOn Pigment. Now the StazOn traditional ink is more of a translucent ink, and it works really well on plastic, glass, metal, acetate, acrylic, leather. I've even used it on fabric. It's really a great option if you want that permanent ink solution on your project. And again, this is the more translucent ink. Now the new line that came out in the StazOn product is the StazOn Pigment. And you can tell by my ink pads here that I use this quite a lot. So, and this StazOn Pigment is just that. It's more of an opaque solvent ink, and it has, because it's more opaque, the colors are more vibrant and they stand out much more than the more translucent color of the original StazOn pad. But today we're going to be talking about how to use these ink pads together. And we are going to play around with some, we're going to start with some little metal tins here. You can actually get a lot of these metal products right off the website at Imagine, which is handy. So we're going to use this little tin. I use these to make lip gloss, not gloss really, but lip balm in that. They're perfect little containers. And we're going to start by putting down, choosing a color of StazOn. I'm going to use this saddle brown for my background. And all I'm going to do is take the ink pad and apply it directly to the surface of the metal. So you can see I'm getting a nice brown, golden brown tint there, which is great. Now to speed this up, I'm going to heat set it with my heat tool here. This speeds up the process a little bit. Okay, so great. So there's my bottom layer. Now I can add more color at this point. If I wanted to bring in maybe some purple, I can do that, maybe around the edges. And I'll, just directly to the pad. You can also use the large ink daubers. They work great too. But for this, method, we are just going directly from the ink pad to the metal. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is bring in my pigment ink, the StazOn Pigment. Now, keep in mind that sometimes when I apply this, it actually pulls off some of the more translucent color. That's fine. It just adds to the effect. But look at that. Now you can see that is popping out. Well, I hope you can see on the camera how that is just popping right out there with that more translucent color underneath. Love it. All right, so we're going to heat set this one more time. So now I'm going to bring in another stamp, and I'm going to use this time the white StazOn Pigment. Just have a little coffee cup stamp here, and I'm just going to go off, and I'm going to just, it doesn't have to be perfect, lift it up, and then there you go. Now you can see it even blends in a little bit with that. It's bringing that brown from underneath out to the forefront, but I like it. I like how now I get kind of the white and a little bit of the sable brown coming up from the bottom. Love it. Okay, now let me heat this again, and now let me talk after I heat this up here. Hold on. Now you could leave it exactly like that, and you're finished. You're done with this piece of it. You can even put a coat of glaze on over the top. And I would probably do that with something like this because you're going to be grabbing it and moving it back and forth as you're using the tin. So I'd probably put a coat of glaze on over the top. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the glaze on product. And I would put a coat of that. I'm not going to do that today because this does take a little bit longer to dry. And we just don't have time for that today. So there's one, stamping on metal. So let's kind of go over again. So I applied the regular, more translucent StazOn directly from ink pad to the metal first. Then we started bringing in different components with the words in the black StazOn Pigment, and then finally with our coffee cup stamp in the white StazOn Pigment. And that allows you to get a nice depth to your project. Isn't that cool? All right, let me set that aside. Okay, so what should we do next? Should we do another project like that? Here, I have a bigger tin. Let's work with this one. A little bit bigger tin. I'm going to do kind of the same thing. In fact, I'm going to do the exact same thing just so you can see the difference on the larger tin. So I'm going to start by applying the sable brown to the background. Now this one being a little bit bigger tin, it has a little bit of give to it, so I want to think about that when I go to start stamping. So as we did with the other one, let's this time use a little bit of blue. Well, let me heat set that first. Let me heat set it. Now you can go right in with your blue. It's just without it being heat set on the metal, you get the colors are gonna kind of merge together. I can't say they actually blend, but they're kind of smeared together, and that's just not the look I want to go for. So I'm going to heat set it. Okay. Alrighty, let's go in now with my teal blue, which is my absolute favorite color. Okay. Ooh, I like that teal with that sable brown. That's nice. Okay, so nice little background there with the edging. Let me heat set that. Alrighty, so let's go in with the words now like we did on the other. I'm going to repeat with the black StazOn Pigment. Now the StazOn Pigment does get a little sticky. And so if you're having any trouble with your ink getting that way, then what you can do is just spray a little bit with some rubbing alcohol. Not a lot, but I have some here. Here's 70%. And I just do a quick spritz over the top, and that loosens up the ink a little bit if it gets a little sticky on me. I also keep my StazOn Pigment pads well inked, just because it has a habit of getting a little sticky when it gets dry. All right, here we go. I want to get the ink pretty good on this one. Make sure it's dry. That black StazOn Pigment pad was pretty juicy, so I want to make sure I get a good dry on this. Okay. Alrighty. So let's, on this one, bring in this, I said I was going to do the same thing, but I think I'm going to change it up a bit. Now, one thing to be careful, as I just moved this, it reminded me that this metal gets hot when you're heat setting it. So I actually don't want to hold this really too long right now because it's actually quite hot. So I want you to keep that in mind because I'd hate for anyone to get burnt. please keep that in mind. And I feel like the stamp's gonna move. I hope it doesn't. All right, so do firm pressure. You don't want it to slip in that, so you don't want it to move too much. Then just lift right up. Oh my goodness, I love it. Do you love it? I love it. All right, move that out of the way. So look how that white, and I hope the camera is doing it justice, look how that white just pops right off of there. Isn't that lovely? All right, should we stamp a little saying while we're at it? Let's see if I can find one on my desk real quick here. Oh, there's one. I knew I had one. Okay. Let's go back with the black for this. Now remember that the reason I'm stamping in the opaque is because it stands out more. And so that what makes the decision to stamp the opaque colors over the top of the more translucent colors, and because obviously the opaque is going to stand out more. So you get a nice layered look with these inks by doing that. All right, so as with the other one, you can see as this one kind of dries a bit, it's starting to pick up a little bit of that sable brown on the background. And yes, I get all inky, just the way I am. But I think that is really just beautiful. All right, so you'll want to heat set that. I'm going to set it out of the way a minute. And I'm going to show you one other thing today, which is on glass. And then depending on time, I'll probably add more to this video later with stamping on wood, but at least we'll cover the glass in the middle this time. So you really want to do some of the same things. The only difference is because this is actually plastic and translucent, obviously, I'm going to do a method where I ink on both sides. So I'm going to come in with the blue again and just do a nice coverage on that background. Now see, let's at this point, if you want a little more texture to that, just come in before it dries with your baby wipe, and I can still pull some of this up off of there and get a nice little that plastic likes to stick to my mat. All right, sorry about the shake there. So let's heat set that. All right, so now I'm going to flip this over. So now I can now stamp on this side. And I think I'm going to start with bringing in now my black lettering and do the same thing with that. Cool. Okay. Let's get that heat set. Clean this up because I don't want to stick my project in it and get ink where I don't want it. So, heat set. And what I'm stamping on here is I found these awesome little, they're jar, canning jar lids. I actually found them at my local craft recycle center. And so you can see here I did one with, earlier with the Inspire. And so how fun would that be for gifts to fill that up for birthday, holidays? I think that would just be really neat. All right, so let's go with the coffee stamp this time. And we're gonna go in with the white over the top. So again, this is all just about adding the layers between the translucent and the opaque. Oh, wow. Look how beautiful. Does that, I really hope the camera shows how that just really shoots off of that page there, or the plastic there. So let me heat set that. Now, wouldn't this be fun to fill your jar up with your friend or family member's favorite coffee and put that little lid on it? Isn't that the cutest thing? All right, so now what have we done? We have, using the same methods of layering between the translucent StazOn and the pigment StazOn Pigment inks, we have stamped on plastic and we have stamped on metal. So we also use, for texture, varying the layers between plain color, words, and an image. Just a nice way to get a good texture and 3D effect on your projects. So I hope you like this. My next video, I'll try to cover StazOn with maybe woods and fabrics. So take care, and I will catch you all next time.